Hello, my AP US History students. Sorry about the audio. I know it sounds a little muffled, but I'm going to try to get through this as fast as I can. I'm also going to have to do this video in two parts because for some reason my stupid QuickTime player is not saving long videos, but whatever. So we have a quiz in class on Thursday. Want to cover the major Unit 4 topics we hit, so you're ready for it. Starting out in Unit 4, the big ideas that we have are the expanding federal power. Jefferson and Jackson are going to be responsible for expanding the federal power of the United States pretty significantly. We also see the rise or the growth of land in the United States, obviously with like the Louisiana Purchase. Moving on, other topics we see in Unit 4, the changing U.S. economy is going to be big in the market revolution. We made posters and spent like 2 whole days on that, so hopefully we're good on the market revolution changes. And then lastly, we see like rise of marginalized groups, as well as sectional tensions between the North and the South continue to rise, mostly because of the market revolution stuff, to be honest with you. But anyways, getting right into it, Jefferson is quite an interesting guy. He's a anti-federalist, so he believes in the rights of the people and the states pretty strongly. However, he uses his power as president to increase the power of the federal government in the name of protecting those rights that he thinks people should have. So, for example, Jeffersonian America, Jefferson thinks that all of us should just be farmers because the only true way to be free from a government is to like grow your own food. If you're dependent on others for food, you're not really free. It's like his argument. So that's part of the reason why he buys Louisiana, expands the territory of the United States quite greatly. It's not, the only reason. There are other reasons why we buy Louisiana. First of all, it's a really good deal, and another reason that's pretty significant is access to the Mississippi River and the city of New Orleans. The United States desperately wants this because, as you saw in the market revolution, the Mississippi is eventually going to have a whole bunch of canals connected to it, that's going to allow for trade to increase within the United States itself. Anyways, continuing on with Jefferson, looking at like some of the things he handles, mostly on foreign issues. He does also declare war on the Barbary pirates. He does this, without asking Congress. Basically, these pirates that were running North Africa weren't allowing trade, the American trade through the Mesopotamia. Oh my God, through the Mediterranean Sea. This obviously upsets the United States because they're asking for bribes. So Jefferson refuses to pay those bribes and basically declares like this small war with them without asking Congress. So that also increases federal power a decent amount. We also see, federal power increase in Marbury versus Madison. The Revolution of 1800, as it's sometimes called, is Jefferson's election versus John Adams. It's only called that because we don't have anybody die in the transition of power from political parties. Throughout most of history, if you do have a transition of an executive or a central power, usually people have to die in a revolution or a war to get that to happen. However, we peacefully transition power, which is a big deal. The one casualty of this is obviously Marbury versus Madison. Have to do with judges and the judicial system. But the overall point that you need to know is Marbury versus Madison, led by John Marshall, great extra credit question in the Supreme Court, um, is going to give the Supreme Court the power of judicial review. So they can tell us which laws are constitutional and which laws are not. So that's a pretty important piece for you to get. Turning over to the foreign side for Jefferson, we already looked at like the Barbary pirates, but we're also going to have some issues with England and France impressing our sailors still. Obviously, this is an issue for a few presidents, Adams specifically in the back for context. But anyways, our issues with England and France lead to Jefferson passing the Embargo Act, which is not going to be very great for the U.S. economy and is going to specifically attack New England farmers, Federalists. We're going to get pretty upset about this entire thing. It's definitely a contributing factor to the War of 1812. But anyways, Jefferson, obviously an interesting guy in a lot of different ways. Something else that happens under Jefferson's presidency is Gabriel's Rebellion. I told you pretty much after Unit 2, so after Shays' Rebellion and after Bacon's Rebellion, if you see a rebellion that's named after somebody in the time period of like 1800 to 1860, it's always a slave rebellion. So Gabriel's Rebellion is a slave rebellion that leads to increased punishments on slaves as a whole. Anyways, that's part one of our video that really covers Jefferson. I'll come back and do the market revolution and War of 1812.